But we'll be live here. I've got my Diet Pepsi. I've got Jake Hari. I've got 6-game slate starting at 8:15. Yes, we're going at 6:15. Had a little scheduling kerfluffle there, but that's okay. My anniversary was yesterday, 9 years. So there we are. Enjoy. But let's see here. Can you drop that link in the Slack chat? I'm gonna hit the tweet. And we can take a leisurely walk through our 6 games here. There's going to be some strategery involved. We definitely have some offenses to look at. And we also have some pitching choices that may not pop off the page, which is intriguing, to say the least. But let's give everybody a chance to pop in here.
Make sure. How's the early slate going for you?
It's hard to tell. I got a lot of the Mets, and I'm winning right now, or I'm up, I should say. But I don't know if that. It's hard to tell if that's going to hold or not. I didn't look at it too closely, and I haven't looked since you mentioned there was a double dong by one Maximilian Kepler, and I'm losing. So there we go.
Yeah, that'll do it. The double dong just ruins the slate, per usual. But I actually have more than the field of Kepler, so I should be doing okay. There's no stack that's going off, so if that continues, I'm just not going to win, which I'm fine with.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've got a few on Yahoo that are adequate, but they're not. We'll see. A lot of baseball left. I have some decent teams. I got 126, 115, 130, 140, 130. 100, 90, 48, 53. I got some teams that aren't good. It's hard to tell on the laptop though, so I like to go to the app, the DraftKings app.
Yeah, why not?
So let's see. Now that I have to know, because I have golf, and that's what makes it hard. If there's only one sport going on, it's easy. But the fact that I had a few teams that had 6-6 with golf, it's a little tricky because I have guys going right now that were in the later group. So I am losing $30. $151, just like Bacardi, in. $122.74 out at the moment. So there you go.
Could be worse.
It could be, but that's all right. We're good. Okay, we're getting a few more people trickling in here. Our apologies. Apparently, Wembley Stadium plays like Coors Field and then some. Perhaps the moon. Did you see that? There's almost 30 runs scored in that game today.
Yeah, I heard it's a pitcher's park.
Indeed. I thought Porcello was decent. I thought that Tanaka is solid, but I guess not. They both combined for 12 runs allowed and made it not even 3 innings combined. So that was a bit of a mess. I just looked at the temperature in London. It's 80 degrees right now. It's 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock there. So that's unseasonably warm, but that shouldn't change a lot of things. That'd be like 80 degrees in Seattle, because it's obviously London is essentially at sea level, as is Seattle, and generally similar weather. So a little cooler, damper, and rainy. There you are. So anyway, we whiffed on that one. But if it's a 2-1 game tomorrow, is it a pitcher's park? Or is it still, as I mentioned, we still won't know because it's only a 2-game sample size?
We need a few more games maybe to make a distinction on whether or not it's a pitcher's park. But saw some funny stuff on good old Twitter.com. There was some trolling going on. So I don't know if you caught that as well. But
I did. And with what we can say, I've done shows with Derek. I know him. He's a solid guy. He puts in a boatload of research. He looks at more variables than anybody else. He just takes a lot of guff. One, if people just like to give him crap, and he deserves it, but he's a good sport about it too. But he's super smart, and I think that's one of the things. If people were able to interact with the person on Twitter that did Sierra, or that did Bakota, or did any of those other projection systems on a daily basis, they would get the same kind of crap he does. So,
for sure.
There you are. He just happens to be a lightning rod because it's fun.
Right. So that game was nuts. Although I think I said that I liked the Yankees bats if I was going to anything. So I guess I was half right. I also said Tanaka So I'm not actually sure how that game ended up, but looked like there were a lot of people gambling on that or something because it was all over my Twitter timeline.
Am I related to Robert Downey Jr.? No, but I do. That is one of my comparisons. So I'm flattered by that, actually. But I'm not. And Matthew Broderick was another one I used to get. But I think it's more. It's not like I look like the person. It's more of the. Could they be like your cousin or something? That's kind of that kind of thing. I have not ever been mistaken for anybody famous. So no chance of that. But I've got a few people that say, "Oh, you have a bit of an uncanny resemblance." If my hair is a certain way, and it was better when my hair was dark, but it's gray now, Jake. It's gray, mostly gray. All right, now we've got enough people in here. We got a 6-gamer. I don't think there's any weather on this slate, Jake. We said that earlier. There was 2 games that were in a delay, but San Diego, no precipitation. Anaheim, no precipitation. Houston, roof closed. San Francisco, no precipitation. Let's see. Milwaukee, no precipitation, but they can close the roof if they want to. And then Colorado. Let me see. Nothing really there in Colorado. It's going to be 80 degrees in Colorado, 75 in Milwaukee. Houston, it will be 73 and partly hazy or overcast because, the roof. And then San Francisco, 62 degrees. Anaheim, 75. And San Diego, 71, as always. So let's start in here with Coors Field, because that's the big question. What are we going to do? We have a 12 implied run total. We have Clayton Kershaw and John Gray on the mound. Would have never expected that kind of a total in a Clayton Kershaw game. Would not expect John Gray to be facing a 6.7 implied run total himself, but he's, not quite materialized as the superstar that we've been hoping for. Superstar's a bit strong. He's not materialized like, a top 30 pitcher consistently. Outside of Coors, yes, he's much better, but this one is in Coors. So I vacillated quite a bit on this one, but I think what I'm doing is Mark Reynolds is 7 on Yahoo, and he is 2.9 on DraftKings. So he's going to be in some of my lineups. Now, he's not very good anymore, but if he runs into one, we're doing cartwheels. It does cost you your first base slot. On the other side, I'm rolling with all the Dodgers. I've gone 1 through 5 were in my lineups. I don't know who Edwin Rios is. I was expecting Matt Beattie, and then Kike and Austin, whatever, from that standpoint. But how are you coming in on the pitchers? I have not done my crunches yet. I suspect because there are only 12 pitchers, these guys will maybe on 5 to 10% of my teams, just so I can have a little bit more flexibility and do some different stuff. But that's really about it for me. From the pitching side, is there anything I'm missing? Because I know you were thinking about Gray earlier.
I was a little disappointed. I got to none of him in my crunch when I filtered down to my 150. I will crunch one more time probably towards the end of the show once we get all these lineups in. But no Gray for me right now. It is just a ton of Rockies bats. Or I'm sorry. Some Rockies bats. I think on FanDuel I actually had a lot of Rockies. But yeah, on FanDuel I had a bunch of Rockies. DraftKings, just all the Dodgers for the 3rd day in a row. Gray can be volatile, lefty power. I mean, they have a really good lineup. This Dodgers lineup in general, they rolled out a pretty good one tonight. So there's nothing really holding me off the Dodgers. It was just a question of whether or not I was going to get to any Gray, and right now I don't have any. But we'll update if I see something in my final crunch.
All right, and then Kershaw would be. I feel a little bit more comfortable going to him because no Trevor Story, but they still have Arenado, Desmond, and then are we really that scared of Reynolds, Hampson, and Valleca? Probably not. Blackman is just fine in lefty, and then no David Dahl. So I feel a little bit better about Kershaw, but not that much. And we are getting an appropriately priced Kershaw for his current skill set in a matchup in Coors Field. I think 8,700 is completely fine, but it's so hard to click his name. Your hand building.
It is hard to click his name, and what's going to happen when you do click his name is it's going to be more difficult to fit in Muncy and Bellinger. And so for me, that makes it kind of not super interesting to play Kershaw here. It's a good matchup on paper. If you take Coors Field out of the equation, Reynolds, Desmond, Arenado are the guys you're kind of worried about. But Kershaw just hasn't been as big of a strikeout pitcher. So 8,700 is still kind of a tough price for me to get to him here, especially when you've got Woodruff and Greinke on the slate. And who's the other one? Paddock as well. So when I'm getting to this range, this 8K range, I'm going to other guys. So not a knock on Kershaw. It's just kind of Coors Field is getting him off of my teams, which I think I'm okay with tonight.
All right. I'm going to drop the old Spotlight Hitters and Stacks article in chat. That will give you the link to, in the third paragraph, getting in on Yahoo. Reminder, they do have their management fee free contest. So if you come in on our link and use promo code OSMO, you will get up to $30 in your first DFS deposit. They will match that in Yahoo Sports rewards points, which are available for immediate use into any contest. There's also the link to the Spotlight Pitchers article there. And then Jake has some cheat sheet contents up also in front of the paywall. So we've got a lot of stuff covered here for you today on Saturday. I was looking ahead to Sunday. DK is not putting Coors on the main slate. They're going with a 9-game main slate. There's I think there's a 10 o'clock game. The London game is a little early, obviously, because they are several hours ahead of everything. So it's a 9-game main slate. And shocker of shockers, this is third time there's been a Sunday with no Coors game, which was odd because the 3 prior to that, DK did include it on their main slate. So thanks for being consistently inconsistent, guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's your take on that really quick? We've got time. Yeah. Like, do you care? Would you rather have the Coors game on? For me, it doesn't really do much.
It doesn't matter. I like it because it's fun, let me rephrase that. I like it when they have it appropriately priced. When they don't, I think it drives way too much ownership and it just is an absolute debacle and it's not fun. So I don't hate that it's not, but it's also not on their 4 o'clock slate. So really, if you wanted to play that game, you do it on the single game. And I was looking; they don't have any all-day slates on DK for Sunday. But I like it's kind of fun. And tomorrow's an interesting matchup there because let's see, I think it's Maeda and go back over to that page. The old Coors Field, it's Maeda and Chichi Gonzalez. So I guess we might see our first 8 implied run total.
Yeah.
We talked about that earlier, saying, oh, what happens in July or August? We get the September call-ups. It's warm. Shit, it may happen tomorrow.
Yeah, especially during a day game. I mean, the weather might be a little bit warmer. So, Chi-Chi, tough spot there tomorrow. But, yeah, I mean, for me, it's like as long as I have ownership projections, and I think they're the best in the world, the best you can buy at least, like I feel like I have an edge on the slate. So whether it's Coors, mispriced Coors, properly priced Coors, overpriced, I still like it. Just changes some of the settings I use for FC as far as if that game's in or not, if it's 9 games or 10 games or whatever. So I don't know. I don't really care that much. Yeah. So I didn't know if you had a strong take.
No, I don't. Just a little sad, but it's not gonna get riled up. I would just like it to be consistent.
Yeah, exactly. So I agree with that. It should just be consistent. Just either leave the Coors game on when there's a Coors game or don't.
Let's see. My computer's going super slow. Do we have a Yahoo update on ownership? Can you get to that?
Let me check here.
We had one finally came through. I'm just looking because I'm trying to figure out the one tricky thing with Yahoo is because they have their main and their late and their early and all that. So sometimes, depending on who is doing our stuff.
Oh, I don't know if we'll have ownership projections for this later slate on Yahoo just because the main
it's not their main slate. Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the case.
We're still in beta.
Okay, perfect. Right. And I wanted to, if I was going to reference it, I wanted to make sure we had the right stuff. But in any event, I've got that. Let me upload our projections. It's those were updated, and we'll get cruising along here. Our next game is where I'm going to a ton of pitching. Brandon Woodruff, I suspect, will probably be. Last I looked, what was he, like 42 on DK? I'm trying to get 50% probably on this one just because I like his price point. and I want to get over the field on whatever he is. Where are you coming in on Woodruff? He's going against the Pirates, who come in with 3.7 implied run total. While they're not striking out a ton, you've still got Moran and Dickerson who strike out constantly. So I think Woodruff is actually pretty decent when you consider he has in the upper 20s for a strikeout rate. And I was hoping we hope there'd be a couple more righties in the lineup because he's much better against righties, but they've got 2 switch hitters and then 3 lefties. So I'm still going to Woodruff. I like the price, and he's on, I think, 3 of my 10 Yahoo main slate teams.
Yeah, I mean, Woodruff, I think, is a perfectly fine play. In fact, he's probably going to be my highest owned pitcher. It's tricky right now for me to see exactly where I'm going to be at because we don't have updated ownership. So there's a couple guys that are kind of messing up my sheet. But right now, I have him at 65%. I would imagine that comes down a bit. I'd probably be in that 50 to 60% range by the time we get to lock. He's just been, like, I knew he'd been good, but like he's been effective even while allowing runs. So he hasn't really had a lot of clean starts lately, and he's still been really useful outside of one start, oddly enough, against the Pirates a few weeks ago. So I think he's going to be able to miss some bats here. You mentioned Dickerson in the lineup. It's a downgrade as far as the power going against him, but for a strikeout perspective, that certainly doesn't hurt. So there's a lack of talent on this slate for pitching as it was on the morning slate or the afternoon slate as well. So Woodruff's my number 1 guy right now, and I don't feel too bad about it, even in a tough strikeout matchup.
And I would agree on that one completely. We just got the Padres.
We also just got an ownership update.
Okay, cool. So I will, as I just finished posting in the projections. Right. But so we're only waiting on Oakland. Now that one may come in a little later. Again, that game is not for nearly 4 hours, and Chris Davis is dinged up. So it would not surprise me if we don't get that one till 7:30 or so, or even potentially a little bit later since he's such a key player for them. And then the Cardinals is the other one we are waiting for. If we look at the Padres, no Hunter Renfroe again tonight. We've got no other real surprises. Naylor and Margot are in. Greg Garcia in a revenge spot, but he's 4,200. I don't want to pay for a glove guy batting 9th at 4,200. That doesn't feel good. And then we'll talk about Hudson, but he has 68% ground ball rate or something insane.
Yeah.
So he's kind of, and I'm just saying this because if you're going to start building lineups while we're talking, he's kind of one of the guys I'm going to as well. I have a little bit of Pomeranz. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do there. I love Verlander, but the price is tough, and it's going to be hard to get him in Coors Field. And then Greinke is a nice pivot away from Verlander at a 2K discount on DraftKings, and he's got a phenomenal matchup there, but he doesn't have the upside that Verlander does. So you're hoping you get a nice bat or 2 upgraded, and you capture a double dong, perhaps. But looking back here with Milwaukee, they're one of my favorite teams today. We've got a lot of offenses, so I think Milwaukee is excellent. Coors Field, obviously. I really like the Angels going against Brett Anderson, who, let's see, the difference between his strikeout rate and yours and mine is about 12%. So we are closer in strikeout rate to him than he is to Verlander or to Woodruff. Yikes.
Yeah.
That's not helpful. So, the Angels are going to be getting the ball in play, and their lineup is it's loaded for bear at this point. But we'll circle back on those. So that's just kind of your overarching look. So looking at Milwaukee specifically, I think that they and Houston are the counter move against Coors Field. If you look at the stacks tool, what is that telling you about the popularity, the value, and any leverage between those 4 teams?
Sure. Between Milwaukee, did you say Milwaukee?
Milwaukee, Houston, and Coors Field.
Oh, okay. Coors Field. Got it. So
all-encompassing Coors Field.
Sure. So for me, and this is like the 4th day in a row, I think 3rd or 4th day in a row, LA is incredibly undervalued once again. So yes, they are chalk. Yes, they're the highest owned team, but there's still a lot of meat left on the bone as far as their chances of being the top stack compared to their actual ownership right now. So that sticks out to me in that, like, I feel good about playing a ton of Dodgers tonight because the top stack tool kind of is confirming that I probably should be playing a lot of this team in this spot at this price long term. Nearly 30% top stack percentage on a 6-game slate. That's as high as you're going to see. I do want to check the total. I'm going to pull up the Osmo lineups page because it has Alex's actual totals that he comes up with.
I did not realize.
Yes, so this is actually a free page. So I'll shill right now for a second, but I'll post this link in chat. It is mlb.lineups.osmo.com. Free page. Feel free to use this as your lineups page. I know there's some other ones out there, but we update as soon as possible. So any lineup that's out right now, we've got it updated. Eddie did a really good job working with some people to make this happen. So nice little layout as well. But you see a 7.5 implied total for the Dodgers, according to Alex. Yesterday it was 8.2, so maybe not that great of a spot, but it's still, I'm seeing at other places it's under 7, and Alex says it at 7.5. So what that's telling me is it is a little bit undervalued. So all over the Dodgers, they look a little bit undervalued. Milwaukee looks a tad bit overvalued, but nothing crazy. About just under a 10% chance of being the top stack. They're a little over 11% owned. So that's not too super concerning. But what I've noticed from this tool, just looking at it day after day for a couple months now and making it a part of my process, is that you'll often see the teams that are the most overvalued are the ones that are cheap with decent implied totals, but they are offering a lot of point per dollar value. And that really doesn't do much for me in MLB. So you're seeing Oakland being the most overvalued team on DraftKings. Oakland and St. Louis, because they've got cheap bats. St. Louis doesn't have a great implied total, but Oakland's is about 4.5, so that's not too bad. And they just allow you to fit in those top pitchers. So I've been trying to avoid those teams as main stacks, the ones that are going overvalued. But it looks like LA, Colorado, Houston are all teams you should feel fine about playing. I think Milwaukee is as well, a tad bit overvalued, but nothing crazy.
All right. Sean V going with Gray says Vegas is wrong when it comes to Coors Field. Their totals are garbage.
Sean V also said the first game in Coors usually disappoints, and they had like 12 runs.
To be fair, that's actually one that's held out over time. Now, you have to look at a lot of context. I mean, it was Senzatella, and disappointing or in Coors Field are a variety of different things. If they're appropriately priced and they only get 7 runs and they're diffused throughout their lineup, okay, that was a disappointing outcome, even though they scored 7 runs. I think they're averaging in their last 2 homestands like 17.5 runs per game in Coors Field combined between the two teams.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. There was a few blowups in there, and tonight, I mean, yeah, these are like arguably the better two of the best, potentially 3, maybe 4 pitchers that could come from either team, and they're going together, and they're still just a massive total. So it's hard to ignore, but it is baseball, and that's kind of the one thing we hit on a little bit when we were saying, "Oh, am I disappointed or not?" With Coors Field not being on the Sunday slate, and I think it may tend to drive ownership a little too much. Now that I've learned how to, now that we have I have access to our amazing ownership projections, the leverage is an entirely different thing, and I love that for baseball so much. I embrace the variance. I enjoy it. It's something I can really get behind. I have a harder time doing it with basketball, but basketball chalk is chalk for a reason because it's minutes and possessions. In event-based sport like baseball, you have 4, maybe 5 opportunities. You could have as few as 3 at-bats in a game. And there's just not as many opportunities for that to happen. I mean, Mike Trout is going to go hitless in probably 50 of his games this year, right? So is Mike Trout a bad player? No, he's probably the best player. But that just goes to show that it's hard to tell what's happening. But I think when you get heavy movement from the herd, shall we say, on games like this, that's where you can make your stands. And we've talked time and time again, and we're kind of doing a combo strategy show live before lock here, but we've talked time and time again that you can play Coors and you can be different.
A lot of the time you are being different just by playing Coors, because when they're priced up correctly, like what they should be. So like Dodgers, one of the best teams in the MLB, they versus righties, I mean, they just smash everything. When they're priced up and they've got guys at 5K plus, that is not appealing for a lot of people. So if you're not manipulating projections somehow, you're just not going to end up with them. Even if you're using an optimizer, it's really, really tough to end up on them because they'll prioritize the top pitching. But for me, it's like, why not just prioritize the bats and fill in whatever pitching comes around? So I think you're of that similar mindset.
Sorry, I'm actually putting on eye drops on air because I am having a major allergy attack here in my eyes.
Oh, that's all good.
Feel like
they carry.
Yeah, they're glued shut. But here's I've gone through 4 since I sat down here 20 minutes ago.
Man,
I buy them by the box, Jake. See. You'll see when it comes up. I have 2 giant boxes of eye drops from. Oh, and I've got 2 more unopened ones up here. So I had LASIK, and ever since I had LASIK 10 years ago, my eyes get really sensitive when pollen's out. So it's annoying. I don't have to wear glasses. Fun. Okay, back to the slate. So we kind of hit on the first 2 games. If you're going to go against Woodruff, which I think is a fair spot to look for some leverage, which of the Pirates bats would you like to consolidate in your potentially 3-man stacks? And there are some good little 3-man chunks throughout there. You could go Dickerson, Moran, and somebody adjacent to them because they're a little bit discounted and they have the platoon advantage and they're farther down in the order. That would give you the differentiation. If you're going with them, it means you're not going with Arenado or Turner, because you're using your third base slot on there. Depending on your site, you may or may not get Bregman. Some sites he's shortstop, some sites he's third base. So that's kind of creating a new lineup build for you. Would you consider doing that against Woodruff today?
I would if there wasn't like other really good teams to pay up for that I just felt way better. So like I would consider playing a Josh Bell and Marte, I think we talked about earlier, and maybe a Dickerson. So that's fine as a mini stack if you wanted to get weird and stack against Woodruff. I don't know that you need to stack against Woodruff on this slate. There are a bunch of other really good options in their range. So if they were maybe a little cheaper and I could fit them in more as a mini, I'd probably be doing it. But tonight, I don't think I got to any Pirates on DK. In fact, I will check right now. I'm seeing all zeros across the board for my Pirates hitters.
How often do you get 0 when there's 12 teams in play?
How can I get 0?
No, how often? Because it's not like, I mean, Woodruff is good, but it's not like you're going against vintage. Like I could see getting 0 Seattle tonight going against Verlander.
Yeah. It's just because they're overpriced, low total, so they're not coming up as main stacks for me a lot. And then when I'm making 600 lineups and filtering down to 150, those poorly projected lineups are getting dropped out anyways. So like if you did a Pirate stack and you're using the Osmo.com projections, you're just not going to get a highly projected lineup, whereas a bunch of other teams will. So I don't like none of their guys on their team really grade out as good values. So that'd be the issue. So, I mean, it's possible. It happens all the time where I look and someone hits a home run against my pitcher and I'm like, I don't have any of him. So that's a little bit more of an aggressive play, I think. But I wouldn't say that's uncommon for me.
Okay. And I'm just curious because, we do our shows like every other week. So I like to pick your brain and ask. I mean, I like to watch our shows and hear what our people have to say, but sometimes I want to ask specific questions because if I figure if I have them, some of our other people do out there in the audience as well. So just checking. In weekends, we do get about a third of our people that view us are uniques on weekend because they can't play during the week because they're at work or they're West Coast or whatever. So a lot of times they don't get to watch the DFS strategy show or some of the weekday games. You and I are dedicated. Some would say addicted. I prefer dedicated. And we play every slate, Jake. We play every slate. All right, our third 8 o'clock game. We have the Seattle Mariners going against the Houston Astros. We do have the Mariners lineup out, and it's Verlander. I don't really want to go against the Mariners, but I've read a couple different people today talking about how bad the Mariners are. And it's like, guys, are we leaving out the Marlins? Are we leaving out San Francisco? Are we leaving out Detroit? Are we leaving out Baltimore, etc.? Even though the Mariners, yes, they're worse without Haniger, without now that they've traded away Bruce, now they've traded away Encarnacion. But in the last 2 weeks, they still have a 108 WRC plus, and those guys have now been gone for more than 2 weeks. And if you look at June, they have like the 4th highest WRC plus. So they're not bad. But this is Justin Verlander, and I want to do everything I can to get him in my teams. It would not surprise me if the Mariners get blanked tonight. Maybe they'll a Vogelbach or Narvaez lucks into one against Verlander or the bullpen. Kyle Seager has done well. Well being a relative term, but he has got a few home runs off of Verlander, if I'm remembering from when I was looking at former matchups here. But I really am not, much like you with Pittsburgh, that's me with the Mariners. I'm just not seeing it. Now, there have been times, like when Verlander played the Yankees, I picked a few Yankees and I made one or two, like when I say one or two, like 300 teams, I had like 4 or 5 total. So like 1 to 2% of Yankee stacks where I was going in and specifically clicking on Judge and the good guys. I don't really see a need to do that with the Mariners.
Yeah, I don't see a need to do that either. So for me, since I'm paying up for pitching, since I'm paying up for hitting tonight, there's, as I do most nights, there's a good chance I don't end up on much Verlander at all. So when you're at 11.5 and there's a team that you really want to play that's priced way up, it's basically one or the other for me. And in that scenario, I almost always side with hitting. So I'm just hoping Verlander doesn't go completely nuclear and get 15 strikeouts or something like that. That's probably going to bury me. But if Coors does what Coors is supposed to do, or what I think it's going to do tonight, then I don't think there's a very good chance that Verlander's on the winning team. So nothing wrong with Verlander here. He is a fantastic play. He should be in your cash lineup. I think you can make a really good cash lineup with Verlander and like a Pomeranz combo. But for tournaments, not really going there. In fact, I think I got like under 10%. Guess how much Verlander I got on my crunch that I just ran before the show?
I would say 5%.
1 share out of 150.
Wow. Okay. Now I'll be looking at it a little different. So here's peeking ahead. We got the Oakland lineup. Now we do not have Chris Davis. However, on DK we have Mark Conha, who is first base and outfield eligible at 36, batting 4th, and Chad Pinder, who is second base and outfield eligible at 3,400, batting 5th. There's your savings. And Piscotty's no slouch either against lefties. So you could go a 4-5-7. I wouldn't want to eat up the outfield spots there, but put Pinder in at second base and then the other two at an outfield spot. And now we're talking. Now we can get a Verlander. Maybe we move in a Bregman to shortstop. Maybe we get a couple guys from Coors Field on the low end. This is just ticket to entry at that point because these guys aren't good. But a Mark Reynolds or a Garrett Hampson or Edwin Rios or people of that ilk. So that is kind of one of the keys I was waiting for, is to see where Pinder was going to be in the lineup, and he's batting 5th. So I like him. He'll probably, maybe 3 at bats because he's one of the pinch hit risks. But if they're thin, which they kind of are in Oakland, he's still a solid play. And if he gets pinch hit for, that means who's coming in, to spell him. And, you got Profar, who can play a bunch of positions. You got Pinder, but then after those two, it's kind of like, I don't really know what's on the bench for middle infielders because they're starting Marcus Semien as well. So, but back here to, you see Kikuchi, bad player, not good times at all. So how many home runs do you think he will give up tonight? Let's set the over-under at 2.2.
We just got our last lineup in, so we're good for lineups tonight. 2.2. 2.5. What'd you say?
I said 2.2. Do you think he'll give up 2 home runs or more than 2 home runs tonight?
I think 2 for him sounds about right. So I actually got to 5% Kikuchi. I mean,
Yeah.
So if he does survive, there is a scenario in which he could end up on a winning lineup if he survives and gives you 12 DK points and the Dodgers put up 1,000,000 runs. Like he could be, if all the expensive bats go off, he could be in the winning lineup. So that's why I got 5%. That being said, I think he gets hammered here. Houston's my number 2 stack behind LA. In fact, they might even get to number 1 depending on where ownership shakes out. Not a good spot at all for Kikuchi. He can't miss bats. He is going up against a loaded lineup that's still missing one of their better hitters in Correa. But starting off Springer, Altuve, Bregman, and then, follow it up with Gurriel, Brantley, Chirinos. It's just going to be really tough for Kikuchi. So home run prone, giving up a lot of home runs lately. Yeah, I would say he gives up a couple home runs here. I think that's a pretty safe bet.
He's given up 18 on the season. I'm just going over here to Fangraphs to see where that stands. Now, he isn't qualified for innings, but his 18 is the tied for 9th most, and he has done that in 86 innings. He's given up 18. Yikes! That is basically 2 per game. If he were to go, a full complement of 7 innings. Now he won't because they're keeping an eye on his pitch count, etc. But the Mariners actually have one of the worst bullpens. It's right there with the Nationals and Baltimore and some of the other abominations that are out there with the bullpens. The Mariners have allowed the most runs in the league this year, and they're not good. They're not good. So with regards to Houston, who wouldn't make your lineup tonight? That's an easier way. Who would not? Miles Straw, Marisnik, and Reddick. Those are probably the 3 you may not have. Do you have any of them?
Marisnik. Let me see. Let me use my filters here. Got to use Excel tonight. All right. Did you say? Okay, so Straw is batting 9th. I got to everyone, and that usually happens when I play a team really heavily. So everyone's at least 5%. Straw is the only guy I got to at 5%. Everyone else actually is above 10 for me right now, including Marisnik, who I usually don't like, but we have him projecting actually really, really well at 4K, which is wild for an 8-hitter. Bregman's my highest owned guy, and then it's Altuve, then Chirinos. So I'm over the field on everyone, but the closest guy is Springer that I'm at the field with.
All right, and then for perspective, we've got the we'll do one more ownership update here with these lineups coming in, but this was the last one before we got those final 2 with the Athletics and with St. Louis. But Oakland coming in at 13th most popular on DK. They are the most popular on FanDuel at 18.5%. Milwaukee is second at 16. The Dodgers at 15, and Colorado at 12. And then Yahoo, little tougher to tell because the all-day slate and that sort of thing. But the Dodgers are coming in at 27%, and a lot of that is going to be carried because Martin is not. Was it Martin? No, Barnes is $9, so he's kind of a gimme. Again, just for cheap exposure to that game. But we'll see. We shall see. All right, let's talk about our 3 10:05 games here. Or, well, technically 10:05, 10:07, and 10:15. But we have the Arizona Diamondbacks going against the San Francisco Giants. 62 degrees in Oracle Park here. We've got Greinke staring down the Giants with a 3.2 implied run total, which is the lowest on the slate. It's a tick below the Mariners, who are 3.3. On the other side, we have a discounted Drew Pomerantz, who is scary as hell. We talked about him. He is no bueno on the road, but he's got some home cooking tonight. The home ballpark does him well. Basically, he has even innings and starts on the home and the road, and he's got nearly a 10 ERA on the road, and it's more like 4 at home. Home runs, 11 on the road, 5 at home. Strikeouts, your mileage may vary, and his walks are pretty equal as well. Let's start off with Grinky. You must have a fair amount of him if you're getting one lonely little ceremonial share of Verlander.
Actually, no, I got one.
Oh, Jake, living and dying with Woodruff, and who else? I'm looking forward to finding out.
Yeah, I mean, you'll find out in a few seconds here. But yeah, I mean, Greinke's a fine play. He would be a guy as a nice consolation if you're not getting up to Verlander. But when I'm playing pitching tonight, I'm going all the way down to the very bottom. And I think we've actually got some quality options. So Pomeranz is my guy, and he's going to decide a lot of what happens with my DraftKings and FanDuel and Yahoo accounts tonight. So I got to him right now. He'll be somewhere around here, but I got to him at 74%. That's about 3x his ownership right now. And I just think he makes a ton of sense on a slate like tonight. He's chalk, but I think when you're pitching in this park, not a terrible lineup. He's got Avila in that lineup. That was unexpected. Peralta's in there as well. The bottom of this lineup is not great. As far as, guys you're worried about against Pomeranz. So, yeah, he's my guy tonight. $6,400 Drew Pomeranz. I'm hoping for another 11 Ks, but I'll take like 4 or 5 and get through 5 or 6 innings here.
And I think that's the mindset you've got to have. Plus, it's going to be fun because you're going to have PMR waiting in one of your pitches.
Yeah, no kidding.
So you're saying there's a chance, at least till you get to the halfway point of the slate here. So that's somewhat intriguing. Pomeranz is going to be very popular for me as well, and that's, for me, it's a function of I'm trying to get more Verlander. And that is one of the ways you can do it with Pomeranz. Now, that's not going to be a unique combination, so you need to find the 1 or 2 tricky guys and luck into something. But that's okay. But if you play aim small, miss small, to borrow the phrase from Mel Gibson in The Patriot, but we like to diffuse our entry fees into a lot of tournaments and lineups, and that's one of the things that I do is I play on DK. I like these smaller field ones, like the contests, like the 100-mans, the 59-mans, the 258 or whatever they are. I love to play those. They've got this thing, a single entry 100-man called the Hundo, which is kind of fun. I've been playing those, and then they've been putting in these 3-max strike threes where they have, depending on this, when they spawn it, somewhere between 1,000, 500, or 100. And those are what I like to play. And that hat tip to FanDuel because they have a gazillion of their 100-mans or 112. Yeah, it's 100-mans. Now they only paid like top 10%, but that I think is the best payout, the best structure, the best everything. Because if you get a 1% lineup in there, you're vying for a top 5 spot. That same lineup probably will 2x, maybe 3x in the giant tournaments, which is nothing and not worth it, where you can get 7, 8, or 20x in these smaller fields. So that's where I've been making my hay this year, and it's been a lot of fun. So just wanted to point that out. Going over to Greinke, what was your percentage on Greinke? You said 5?
I got 1 share.
Good God.
This is going to be a little bit off. I would imagine I get a few shares of Verlander. I would imagine I get a few shares of Greinke. Depending on what happens with ownership now. We do not have an update since Chris Davis was not in the lineup. So a 30% owned guy is going to shift things around a little bit. But yeah, moral of the story, I'm not getting a lot of Greinke or Verlander tonight. Starting my teams with Woodruff Pomeranz, baby.
I like it. I will be joining you a fair amount on that, and that's okay by me because it's fighting to get 20% of Verlander for me. But you're right. You've got to get in the bats as well. Now I want to call out one intriguing guy against Verlander, Brandon Belt, batting leadoff. He is good. He is no stranger to facing Greinke at all. I've closed that page. Shout out to the Nationals bullpen for giving up a bunch of runs in the lead, as they are wont to do. Thank God Scherzer's going tomorrow. Hey, we have a double revenge game. Scherzer versus Jordan Zimmerman tomorrow. Former Nat versus former Detroit Tiger.
Yeah, Zimmerman's going to play his best ball he possibly can, huh?
Yeah, something along those lines. But let me get Greinke up here. Let's look at how many times Belt has faced him over the years, between Greinke being with the Dodgers and with Arizona. Because I'm curious. Brandon Belt, 9 for 34, 2 home runs, 1 double. So just 3 extra base hits in his 34 at bats, 11 strikeouts, and only 2 walks. So he's going to be swinging. He should get 4 at bats, maybe a 5th one today, depending on how well Greinke does. So I'm okay with Brandon Belt. The sad thing is he's back to first base eligibility only on DraftKings. It was nice when he had that. I'm gonna make sure he still doesn't have outfield eligibility. But now that they've called up Yaz, picked up Dickerson. Jesus, they picked up Dickerson and he's batting cleanup tonight. How does that? I think they got him off waivers.
Yeah, I think so.
So he had a nice little run last weekend in Arizona. I don't know that he'll continue it tonight, but they are putting out a lot of lefties here against Greinke. And from a strikeout perspective, this iteration of the lineup strikes out at, based on the last 2 seasons of data, strikes out at 21.5%. You've got Yastrzemski at 28, Stephen Vogt at 26, Dickerson, Sandoval, Belt, Crawford, all between 20 and 22. So there is the opportunity if things go sideways here for them that Greinke could end up with double-digit strikeouts tonight. Now, I don't think that's likely. I haven't looked at any of his strikeout props, but I would say for Greinke, what do you think? Probably 6.5 or 7 would be his,
I think it might be
over-under.
like 5.5 or 6.
Okay, because he's not really a strikeout pitcher. He really is not. He's totally content putting the ball in play. Last 2 seasons, he has a 23% strikeout rate, just a 4.6% walk rate, but 45% ground ball rate. Doesn't allow fly balls. 32% fly ball rate. This is like the perfect place for him to pitch.
Yeah. Oh, it's a perfect place. I mean, if me and you were pitching here, I'd probably consider us if we were free. Like, it's just such a good park. So. The implied totals reflect it. I didn't pay attention to it for the longest time. I'd look at the strikeout matchup, but I mean, this park is so good for DFS when you've got a pitcher priced down or not priced up to where he should be. And I think Greinke probably falls in that category. At worst, he's fairly priced here, I think. So no problems with him. Just going a different direction tonight.
In his last 10 games, spanning 51 innings, how many home runs do you think Greinke has allowed?
That's interesting because I haven't looked into a ton of what Greinke's done lately. I would say like 1?
4. So it's low. He's done 12 on the season in 108 innings. Now here's the strikeout numbers. So in 51 innings, how many strikeouts do you think he has?
40.
36. He does have 93 and 108 on the year, so his last 10 have been a little less than that pace. But it just goes to show that's not a lot of strikeouts in this one. So I'm okay trading off strikeouts for easy outs for Greinke because I think he has a very good chance at getting the win, and that's something I generally don't factor in or project. But they have a 100 or 150 money line on Arizona, so that one's nice. I mean, Verlander, that feels like a gimme. Weird stuff happens, but he's 320, minus 320 on the money line. So that, that's why he's projecting really, really high. But once you get down, anything below 200, I start to think, it's a wash. Because the team may win, but it could go to a reliever. Your guy could go out with a tie, no decision, etc. But I feel that Greinke can go long enough that if they can get a couple runs off of Pomeranz, this would be a spot where Greinke could get the win. And rarely do I really bring that up. But and I can't remember bringing up the win in the last month. But I do like Greinke for a win today.
I like it.
All right, moving along here. We've got Oakland and Anaheim. We have Brett Anderson, 5,700. Brett Anderson, as we mentioned, has no strikeout ability, which is not really a good thing against Anaheim because Anaheim does not strike out. Looking at Anderson, over the last 2 seasons, he has a 12.8% strikeout rate. If we look at just this season, it's 14%. So, 14% last year. It was 11.9 this year, and then the combined is 12.8. So, God, mediocre at best. He doesn't walk people, but you're asking for clean innings here. So, I mean, is Trout going to get a home run? Trout's pretty good against lefties.
Trout is pretty good against lefties. He's pretty good against everything. So he's my highest exposed guy in this game. I don't think I even got to Brett Anderson here. Yeah, I didn't as of now. I don't think that's going to change. Um, he's just not. It's a terrible strikeout matchup for a terrible strikeout pitcher, and he's 5,700. So if you're going to do that, you might as well just save $900 with Kikuchi and get a better Coors bat or something like that.
Yeah, or spend the 900 or probably 1,200 and go to Dakota Hudson, who we'll talk about in a minute.
Or spend 700 and go to the GOAT Pomeranz.
That is true. That is true. Brett Anderson will be in some of my lineups on the 3-game late slate, just because you got to roster 2 of them, and I don't want Pomeranz on every single lineup there.
Yeah, for sure. That's a fine play. But no, I don't have much interest in this game overall outside of the obvious. I'm going to have Trout. I'm going to have some Upton. There's some decent values on the LA side, but it's going to be more mini stacks than anything for me. We just got ownership.
Excellent. While you're updating that, I'm going to drop this link and chill for a minute here. I'm not going to update my stuff since we'll wrap up before I get around to doing that, because I'm not very good at multitasking. But the Spotlight hitters and stacks article is in there. I do want to call it out because I do have the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and when I wrote this last night, it was a 5.5 implied run total. It's 5.2. That's okay. It's going to be a little cooler, I think, than was expected. It was going to be like 79 or approaching 80, but it's 75 now. The wind's gone down a little bit. It's just 4 to 6 miles an hour heading out to right field. It was 7 to 9 last night. So not surprised it went down a tick. That's totally acceptable. But in his last start, Anderson was, my phrase, gobsmacked by the Tampa Bay Rays, allowing 7 runs on 11 base runners, 1 home run, and no strikeouts. So yikes, 11 guys got on, 7 of them came around, and there was only 1 home run. So that's not good. That's not good at all. Angels are fully healthy for the first time this season. It makes a huge difference with Justin Upton and Andrelton Simmons in the lineup for them. Upton here is batting 4th, which would be cleanup, which is very, very nice. You do get Tony Trout and Simmons, and then Fletcher leading off is somewhat intriguing. 3,800 on DK, so you get a little bit of salary saving flexibility, and I would suspect he's probably going to get 5 at-bats tonight. I didn't go that far saying that for Belt leading off, but I will go that far for David Fletcher in this one, just because the Oakland bullpen not that great either. And then Renfroe, Regifo, batting 8th, Cole Calhoun 7th, and then Dustin Garneau batting 9th. Garneau not the worst play out there, and that would be a pivot off of the Coors guys, because Austin Barnes and Tony Wolters are only 200 more than him, and they will carry a lot more popularity than will Garneau in that one. So for me, I really like the Angels. Really, really, really like them on the late slate, but they are kind of coming in at number 5, I guess, because we have Coors, Houston, and Milwaukee. But I do want to call them out. My notes did say, now for those of you new to the article, I'll write up 1 or 2 teams for each slate. So I have to write somebody on the late slate. So for the Angels, I did throw out the caveat that said the guys in the bottom third of the lineup, which is likely going to be the catcher, Cole Calhoun and Fletcher. Now, Fletcher's batting 1st, but it's Rengifo batting 8th. So I said those guys don't really come into play until the late slate. But the top 5, and hell, let's throw in Albert Pujols. Those guys are in play on the main slate for this one. Where was your, in comparison, just for those following along, what was your Angels exposure here?
Sure.
Well behind the other guys. And you did say Trout was one of your most popular plays, though.
Yeah, Trout was Trout, I got over 20%. I'm recrunching right now, but he's going to be up there because I can afford him tonight because I'm, paying for the worst pitchers. You could buy with your DK money tonight. So they're behind Milwaukee, they're behind Houston, they're behind the Dodgers, of course, and then I'd probably put them next in front of Colorado after that. But the Angels gonna have a few stacks that are gonna sneak in there, but they're it's more about Trout. It's more about some of these other value guys and 2-mans and such.
The active lineup of today's Angels against Brett Anderson: 68 at bats. Excuse me, 100, 140. Now the allergies are really kicking in. 147 or 147 average. Yikes, not good. Two doubles and a dinger against Anderson. But it just goes to show Anderson doesn't give up a ton of power, but literally no strikeouts for Anderson, which is dangerous. I'm looking here. Anderson has had over 100 strikeouts twice in his career. Now, granted, he's hurt all the damn time, but his rookie year back in 2009, he had 150, and then his first year with the Dodgers. I bet most people forgot he actually played for the Dodgers, 116. But this is his second stint with Oakland. He's gone through Colorado, the Dodgers, Toronto, the Cubs, and come full circle back to Oakland here. So, journeyman at its best. He is like a homeless man's Jamie Moyer, maybe. Maybe.
I haven't heard that name in a while.
That Jamie Moyer. Jaime Moyer, one of my favorite Mariners of all time. Anything else you want to point out from this game? Well, let's talk about Skaggs, I guess. 9,000, and I'm not really intrigued by that, but this is a much improved opportunity for him without Chris Davis. Now, Chris Davis carries the strikeouts and his 247 batting average, which is like permanently hard-coded into the simulation that we're living in right now. But without him, you lose a few strikeouts, but the home run risk goes down dramatically. Skaggs at 9K, I'd rather scrape together the extra 500 and get to Greinke. Your thoughts?
I would rather get to Greinke. I would rather get to Woodruff. I would rather get down to Paddock. So favorable lineup out for Paddock too, it looks like. So yeah, no real interest in Skaggs for me. He would be a late slate option, I think, if anything.
All right, on to our final game. Here's some pitching here. Dakota Hudson going against the Padres. Padres have a 4.0 implied run total here. We mentioned no Hunter Renfroe, so they're running out Tatis, Hosmer, Machado, Reyes, Mejia, Naylor, Margot, the pitcher, and Garcia. Yikes. Not great. Let's see. I was going to say not like a dramatic amount of strikeouts. It's an adequate amount of strikeouts, but Hudson doesn't strike people out. He has just a 16% strikeout rate over his last 500 batters faced, 11% walk rate. We don't like to see that. What we do like to see is the 62% ground ball rate, which is absolutely phenomenal. It's just shy of 70%. It's 68.8 against his last 259 at bats or batters faced from the right side of the plate, and then against opposite-handed hitters, 53%, which is, wait for it, also pretty elite. So he is quite intriguing. Let's set the strikeout number at 4.5 for him. Would you go over or under?
For Hudson?
For Hudson.
That's a good number. I would say maybe under at 4.
Okay.
4 you're looking for.
Feels about right. And if you look at his game log, he either gets 3 or 6. So
yeah.
Quickly eyeballing it, I felt like 4.5 feels about right.
That's about right, yeah.
But amongst, if you were going to go with anybody, I think you would just Reyes has the raw power. Machado's phenomenal. And then Tatis leading off. And the Cardinals bullpen, not that great this season. And I'm okay with a little differentiation with the pod squad, but I don't think I'm going to get very many on the main slate. They're going to be that 3-game night slate for me, besides the aforementioned Tatis, Machado, and Reyes. Where did you end up on the Padres? Or you're literally playing 4 teams. This is awesome.
Yeah, basically.
There's 12 teams out there. I don't need 8 of them, says Jay.
Yeah, just give me those 4 and let me move on. But no, I really didn't get any Padres. I wonder if that's going to change once I finish my final crunch. I don't really see it changing much. It's pay up for bats, it's pay down for pitchers, and that's basically what I'm doing in almost all of my lineups right now. So I can quickly filter out and see what I get. Just finished my DK crunch. Let's see here.
You've got an hour and 1 minute to go, Jay.
I know, right? It's crazy. It's amazing what happens when you have all these lineups. Now you got to sit around and wait, though. That's the problem. Yeah, so I still didn't get any Padres. Hosmer, I got a couple shares of. Mejia, a couple. But no, not – I did get to more Paddock. So I got to basically no Paddock before. I got to 18% on my most recent one. So I'm actually more comfortable with that, especially with no Carpenter in the lineup. And then There was someone else that was supposed to be in this. Ozuna, was it supposed to be?
Yeah, Osuna is. I think he might have gone on the DL. He had a finger injury, I believe, last night and left early. But I think he may have ended up on the injured list.
Okay, that makes sense then. I mean, definitely more favorable matchup for Paddock, power and strikeouts.
Yeah, the only thing about Paddock is he doesn't go deep in the games.
Right.
So 80, 85 pitches, but that's on this slate at 8,300. That's reasonable. I see some people in chat saying, "Oh, everybody's going to play Dakota Hudson." This is why you want the popularity projections from Osimo. 20% on DK. That last update was with all lineups. So 20% is not everybody on a 2-pitcher site. So Hudson, I'm comfortable doubling that. So looking quickly here at the pitchers, just for perspective. So Verlander's at 34. I don't know that I'll be over the field on him. That's going to be tough.
I'm not getting anywhere close to that.
I want at least 20 would be where I would go. Woodruff is 34. I'm good with 50. Pomeranz is 29. I'd be good with 40, maybe a little bit higher. Paddock's 24. It feels about right to me. Greinke's at 20. I'd like to get to 30. Dakota Hudson is where I'm going to make up the ground. He's 6,900, Jake.
Nice.
And he is 20%. So going 40 there. I will have 5% maybe of Lyles. He's at 16. I will have 5 to 10% of Skaggs. He is 13. And then Kershaw, Gray, Anderson, and Kikuchi combined have 10% total. So I may have 1 or 2 Kershaw, Gray. We'll see what happens with Kikuchi and Anderson.
I got 13% Kikuchi on DraftKings, which is terrifying. But I also got to just a ton of Astros as well. So hoping that one is an extreme, one way or the other. Hudson was my third highest owned pitcher on DK, 46%. The other two guys right around 50, Woodruff and Pomeranz. And then Paddock I have at 23 right now. Verlander went up to a whopping 2% for me. 3 lineups out of 150.
You doubled Verlander. Come on, it's all about the percentages, Jake. You doubled. Look at that. You love him.
Because I think I only had him in one lineup before. So making moves here with Verlander. But no, I mean, I kind of assumed I wasn't going to get to much of him. So if the Mariners put up a couple runs here, I think I'm going to be okay. If they can just not strike out, 12 plus times, I'll probably be okay. He does give up power too. So I guess, it doesn't feel great not having the best pitcher on the slate by a mile, but that's where we're at. I do have the best bats on the slate. So I've got the best something here.
All right, this is interesting. So we got some NBA news. We've got Irving in the Nets. That would be Kyrie talking about a 4-year deal. Kemba Walker looking to finalize with the Celtics. And it sounds like the Lakers have reached out to D'Angelo Russell. Remember, they had to trade him away with a pick because they were idiots, because they wanted to, protect locker room integrity, because Swaggy P was cheating on his girlfriend. And apparently D'Angelo Russell, being 19 years old, said something about it on Twitter, and that caused a rift in the locker room. So, hey, let's get rid of him and keep Nick Young. So interesting there, but I wanted to call that out because we're going to do home run picks of the night here. So I just happened to go click because I need to chase down yesterday's game here with the Nationals to see if Ryan Zimmerman got one. I had Franmil Reyes. Renfroe got scratched, so I just said you were kind and let me know that I could pivot. I went to Reyes because that's a fair, same team, same handedness, all that. He got Bupkis. Did CJ Cron get anything for you?
I don't believe so.
Right.
Twins are pretty disappointing.
And then, do you know if Bregman got one?
I don't believe so. I'm sure we would have heard about it from Josh.
I think Josh would have definitely let us know. Let's just double check here on Zimmerman. What did he go? Zimmerman went 1 for 3, but no home run. So nobody got one yesterday. You and I are the last two to have home runs in the last week, basically. And we each have 2. We each have 2 since the other guys got their last one. Big. So there you go. Let's see. I am in the lead here with 16 total. You have 15. Chris has 12. Josh has 9. I have the highest percentage of home runs with 27 of my picks coming in. You are second with 23. Chris at 20. Josh at 19. I'm the only one without a double dong. But I will allow you first choice of your Houston Astros, because I'm going to take whichever one you don't. So,
Yeah.
what do you want to do with your home run call tonight, Jake?
All right, I'll take Bregman.
All right, I think then that obligates me to take George Springer. So I am totally comfortable with that. Had I had the first pick, I would have taken Bregman. So I think we are good. I'm sure you would have taken Springer with the second pick. So.
I think I might have taken Altuve. I can just see Altuve hitting one over in the Crawford boxes.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. And so I went and looked because Springer's back from his injury. He's played this, I think, will be his 5th game. I think he has a double and 1 home run. And I think he went like 3 for 4 at the leadoff home run his first game back. So I was more concerned, is he hurt? Is he harboring some sort of injury, potentially lingering? Is there rust, whatever? But I'm like, he's leading off. 5 at-bats against the Mariners. I'm in. I got Springer.
Yeah. I mean, if that lineup's healthy, it's the Yankees and the Astros, as far as I'm concerned, who's going to take the series this year.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. You got us for an hour and 7 minutes here on our 6-game slate. Lock is at 8:15 tonight. We will be in the chat for a little while before heading off to the evening plans. Just now that we have all the lineups, that makes it a little bit easier. I see I have a little more green here. Where am I? Ooh, $151 in and $156.56 coming out right now on DK. So I have reclaimed $30 and I'm making $5 for my baseball.
Not bad, not bad.
There you go. We shall see. A lot left, but I do have a fair amount of these New York Mets. The Metropolitans need to hook me up here in this one. But any final thoughts as we cruise on out of here?
Nothing except I got 90% Pomeranz on FanDuel.
Oh boy, single pitcher side. But again, the PMR, baby. The PMR. He could luck into a quality start. He really could.
So I think if I was,
he could give up four runs in 2 innings.
If I was going to be around my computer and I was heavily exposed to Coors and it was going off, I'd probably be trying to shed some of that Pomeranz exposure and get like Kikuchi, change around my secondary stacks, get some Brett Anderson, like get Hudson, get Paddock, get all those guys, and just kind of spray exposures. But would not be recommending playing 90% of a guy on a 6-game slate.
All right. I didn't ask for it on the earlier show. I usually don't ask for it on my show, but I'm going to ask for it. Give us a like here. We got 300 plus people watching. Throw us a few likes. See if we can get up to 100 there. That would be very helpful. You are looking at the 2 home run leaders here on our Dong contest. So that's always fun. Show some appreciation. Plus, a like for me and Jake is effectively a downvote for Spags and for Josh. Win-win. That's the way I'm seeing this.
Yeah. I mean, whatever it takes for you to give us the like.
Exactly. So we will have the show tomorrow. We'll go off at noon. There will be 9 games on the main slate. And then I'll, of course, do the rapid fire right at lock, right after lock, talking about the late slate, which I think is 4 games tomorrow. I keep closing my windows here, but that Coors Field game is not really going to be on anybody's slate except for Yahoo. By the way, Yahoo does have the management fee free contest posted, so jump on in there, go to the Spotlight Hitters article any day, 3rd paragraph. You're going to find the link and instructions on how to get a $30 deposit bonus match for your first DFS deposit, and that helps us out. We get a little referral, they give us a wink and a nod, and they keep being featured sponsors for us, which does help us out tremendously, as does the like. We will be on tomorrow. It'll be myself and Josh Engelman. Again at noon, and we will do we've gotten a lot of good feedback on moving the show to the hour before lock, and people like not as much going the game by game, but kind of giving our combination show like we've done with this one. Now, you and I have the luxury for the last few games or few Saturdays along with Chris. There's only been like 6 or 8 games. We're going to get some heavier slates, especially when college football starts up and other stuff. We're going to have some heavy evening slates. So we'll focus more on those game by game and hitting all the pertinent stuff. But with a 6-gamer tonight and, 4 really good offenses and some dicey pitching, we need to talk a little bit more about strategy and leverage on this one. So we'll adapt accordingly. But we have gotten some good feedback for us being nimble with these sorts of things. But with that, we're going to get on out of here. You can follow Jake on Twitter at Jake Hari. I am at EMACDFS. And of course, it is Asimo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.